Hey, so following on from my last video, today's video is going to be a little bit more sensitive. I will be talking about miscarriage, so if it's something that you can't listen to or think about or talk about if you're going through a miscarriage or you have had one and you're still very sensitive about it and you just don't want to hear about miscarriages, then turn off now. Okay, so again, following on from my last video, I spoke about how I was on Clomid, how it did help me to conceive. Just to recap, I don't ovulate because I have PCOS, which obviously if you don't ovulate means you can't get pregnant. Clomid helped me to ovulate, or it stimulated ovulation in me, which then in turn resulted in me getting pregnant. So let me just start from the beginning. I ovulated. We obviously did what we needed to do to try and get pregnant. And it was about a few days after, and I started to get some symptoms, and I was thinking, oh, what do these mean? I think I had three main ones that I can remember. This happened about a year ago. It's breast pain, being extremely tired. I was really, really tired all the time. And then I had spotting, which I don't usually get. I had some spotting. I thought, oh, that's a symptom of pregnancy. So the next day I took the earliest pregnancy test that I could, and it came back positive. And just for a little bit of information, I ovulated, I wrote it down here, I ovulated on the 21st of May last year, which was cycle day 13, and then I tested on the 31st, which was cycle day 23, and my test came back positive. I'll insert some pictures here of what my first test looked like and what my second test looked like, and I think altogether I did 5 tests. They were all different. I think a couple of them were different brands, some of them were the same brand but different types, like digital and not digital, and early detection, not early detection, all of those. I did 5 and they were all positive, and that was it. I mean, I was so excited. I could not believe that it had worked. And I guess me and Yas, we started to plan our lives. I guess being naive, because we didn't really think about miscarriage. We just thought, oh my god, we've had all this difficulty and suddenly we're pregnant. The Clomid has done what it was supposed to do. So yeah, we really didn't think about miscarriage in any way. We just thought, right, let's start planning our lives. Like, we're gonna bring a tiny little life into this world. Like, we need to start planning for it. And we were getting really excited. We were thinking about names, and I mean, anyone who's been through it will understand how as soon as you find out, you plan, or you start to think about things, and you say, oh well, we probably shouldn't plan like too much because it's so early, but then you say that and then you end up doing it anyway. That's what we did. We thought about like the spare room, you know, what we were going to do, if it was a boy or a girl, or names for boys and girls, and all sorts of stuff. We were looking at furniture. We were just looking at so much stuff, thinking about how we were going to tell people. I mean, I know we had discussed it because it was May, and we're not too fussed about waiting for 3 months before we tell our parents. And so it was in May, and Father's Day, I think, is in June. So we were like, that's perfect. If we get his dad and my dad for like a Father's Day lunch, I thought, oh, we can announce it to them there. So we were like, right, how are we going to do it? Because, you know, we wanted to think of a fun way. So we were thinking, should we, as their gift, we should do it a gift from us and then a gift from the bump, and, you know, things like that. And it was honestly like a whirlwind. It was so exciting for us. I mean, we couldn't go a second of the day without talking about it. As soon as he'd come home from work and we talk about it straight away, like, oh, what are we going to do for this? And, you know, what if it's this? And are we going to have like a gender reveal? Are we going to have like, where are we going to do a baby shower? Who are we going to invite to our baby shower? We were honestly thinking about everything you could possibly think of. It was just really exciting to plan our lives, finally, something that we'd been trying to do for so long, and it was finally here. And we really thought that the pregnancy was gonna last and that we were gonna have a baby by the end of it. And again, we were so naive, we didn't even think about, oh, well, you know, what if I miscarried? And so when I woke up early morning with bad cramps, I thought, is this normal? I had no idea if it was normal or not. It was very confusing to me because I was like, this feels really horrid and I don't feel like this is normal. I was sitting there for a good few minutes and I was really starting to worry, but I thought, you know what, don't worry. It could be a sign of pregnancy. I started Googling it while I was sitting there having cramps. I started Googling it, and you know, you hear about pregnancy cramps and it's normal, things like that. And then the bleeding came. And I thought, okay, something's wrong here. So I called 111 because I had no idea what to do in that situation. I was just, you know, pregnant one day and then cramping and bleeding the next. So I called 111 because I didn't know what to do. They'd asked me a few questions, how far along I was. And I'll be honest, I wasn't even that sure how far along I was. And they were like, right, go to A&E because there could be something wrong. If you're pregnant, you need to go to A&E. So I went to A&E and I sat there for 7 hours in crazy pain and bleeding, and obviously just 7 hours of worry and crying, and I just didn't know what to do. No one could get to me fast enough. It was honestly a nightmare having to sit in A&E for 7 hours. But then after 7 hours, we were seen. They had done a urine sample, asked me more questions, and then they said to me, your urine sample is negative, like your pregnancy test is negative. And they said, let's take your blood and we'll do a blood test. So they did my blood test and I had to wait an hour for that too. And that came back negative as well. And so the man called me in and he said, oh, both of your pregnancy tests have come back negative. And I said, so that means that I've had a miscarriage? And he says, no, that means that you were never pregnant. And I said to him, well, I've done 5 or 6 different tests over 2 different days, which I probably forgot to mention just now. Over 2 different days, I did 5 or 6 different tests, different, as I've already said, different brands, and even some of the same brand but different tests. They were all very obviously positive. I did 2 digital and they were both positive. The ones that weren't digital were faint lines, but it was still, you can see it there. As soon as I saw it, I knew. And so I said to him, so how do you explain those 5 or 6? I think it was 6. But I don't think I have pictures of them all. I only took a picture of a couple of them. But I think I did 6 tests to be sure, because I was so in shock. And he basically said to me, well, those 6 that you've done must have been false. Oh no, the word he used was gimmicks. They were gimmick pregnancy tests. And I was like, no, that's not right. And I started to get really angry because I just thought, like, what? I was so confused. I thought, what's going on here? And I was trying not to cry in front of him because I was so angry, but I was also like, okay, my pregnancy tests are negative. I was so confused. And he like leant forward and put his arm on my shoulder and said, "This is a good thing, you're not pregnant." And that really annoyed me because he didn't know my past. So to be so insensitive and say to someone, "It's a good thing, you're not pregnant," I think is really bad. As a doctor, it's really awful for you to say that to someone. So I said to him, "Well, it's not a good thing. I've been trying for 2 years." At that point, it was 2 years. And he was like, "Oh, well, I'm sure it will come." And Yas was with me, and Yas was like, "Okay, well, thanks." Like, I think he knew I had to get out of there quickly. And then we just got back to the car. And then we got back to the car, and I just burst out crying because all this time, I think I'd known about the pregnancy for about a week. Didn't seem that long. I mean, saying it now doesn't seem that long, but when it was happening, it felt like forever that I was pregnant. And so I emailed my fertility doctor, because when I found out I was pregnant, I emailed her. No, sorry, going back. When I had the symptoms, as soon as I got the spotting, I emailed my doctor and I said to her, "I've had some spotting and my ovulation has been weird." Because I was doing ovulation tests and it lasted for like, it was saying positive test for like 6 days. I said, "And I've had some spotting." And she emailed me back and she said, "Right, go and do a pregnancy test." And it was still early. And she said, "That's fine, just go and do a pregnancy test." And that's when I found out I was pregnant. So I did speak to my fertility doctor. Then after this, I emailed her. I was so sad. I emailed her and I said, "I don't know what happened. I had bleeding and cramping and I went to the hospital and they said that none of their tests came back positive." And she told me, she said, "You've had an early miscarriage." And so that kind of confirmed it for me, because I just thought, this guy doesn't know anything about me. Sorry, the guy in A&E. And to tell me that just by chance, the 6 tests that I decided to take were all fake or gimmicks or false positives, which is really rare. And then my fertility doctor saying, "No, you've had an early miscarriage." So that kind of confirmed it for me. And that's, I mean, I'm not really going to pay any attention to the A&E doctor. I know someone who the same thing has happened to them with the same hospital. So I was like, no, this is happening again. And I feel like in A&E, if they don't know, they shouldn't really speak on things, because it's such a sensitive subject. And to be so insensitive with someone who's going through it is quite disgusting, really. But yeah, so what I had was a chemical pregnancy. I don't like the term chemical pregnancy. It just sounds weird to me. It's weird. But a chemical pregnancy is basically where you're under 5 weeks pregnant and the embryo doesn't attach itself properly to the lining of your uterus. Oh my god, I really hope I've got that right. It doesn't attach itself properly, so it comes out as a period. But your egg was fertilized and you did have an embryo. It just didn't quite attach itself properly. I read online somewhere, don't take my word for it, but I read online somewhere that chemical pregnancies happen when there is a problem with the embryo. Something's not right, so it's your body's way of naturally discarding it, really. That sounds really horrible, but that's what it is. So I basically had a chemical pregnancy, which is still a miscarriage. It's just a very, very early one. And it's like when I discuss it with Yas, I always say to him, it's not even just, obviously it is, but it's not just the loss of like what would have been a baby. It's the loss of our lives that we planned. Like we had planned so much and all of that was just gone within the click of a finger. And it was really horrible to deal with. I think it took me and Yas a couple of days to get over it. I just cried a lot and he just went quiet for a couple of days. Didn't really talk that much. But I could tell that we were both just trying to be like strong for the other. Even when it happened, I think I went out with my friend. I told her about it. And we kind of went out, we went to the supermarket and stuff. And I bought him like his favourite sweets, like just little things just to try and make him feel better. And I had those ready for when he got home from work. And then when he got home from work, he had some flowers, and yeah, he had bought me some flowers and flaming hot Cheetos, which are like my favourite thing ever. So we both kind of were thinking of the other without being too overpowering, because we're both going through it. And we just kind of, I think we got through it together in the best way ever. We just didn't dwell on it too much. It was like, okay, this has happened and it's really rubbish. And we gave ourselves the time we needed. We gave ourselves a few days and then it was like, right, let's try again. Let's keep going. Let's persevere. And I think that's the best way to deal with it. I mean, I look back at that time and I just feel like we were so good with how we dealt with each other and each other's grief. So yeah, that's the story of my miscarriage. And I just want to say, as like a end note, it doesn't matter how far along you are in your pregnancy. You can be 2 weeks, 3, 4, you can be obviously much further along. It does not matter where you are in your pregnancy. When it's lost and it's heartbreaking. Even if you've seen it for a scan or if you haven't seen it for a scan, it's still a loss. And going through a loss is always one of the hardest things that you'll ever have to do. So yeah, I'll end it there. If you have any questions, I am so open about talking about this. So honestly, please don't hesitate to ask me any questions about what I've been through with my miscarriage. If you're going through one or have had one, I'm really sorry. And you're 100% welcome to talk to me about it. If you don't want to talk about it in public, you can always DM me on my Instagram, and that's down below in the description. But yeah, I'm happy to talk. That is what this is for, to open the conversation on all of the issues that we go through as women with fertility issues. And also, if you like this video, then please do like this video. And if you want to carry on my infertility journey with me, then subscribe to my channel.